Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to take a closer look at ASML. This is the company that develops equipment that is much needed for technology right now, especially advanced semiconductor chip manufacturing. So ASML might not be the most popular company, but it's one that's very heavily needed. So on today's episode, what I want to do is take a closer look at some recent updates that investors might want to keep an eye out. So let's get started.
I do want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and make sure to check out fool.com/Jose to get the top 10 stocks to buy right now.
Here we can see ASML is sitting at $546 and was down roughly 32% on the year. We can see since its bottom, the stock has actually gone up over 44%, a kind of mean turnaround here happening for the stock. And for those not familiar, what's happening with the semiconductor industry is due to the overall macroeconomic environments that we're seeing. We are seeing a lot of companies slow down their or doing over inventory in their technology, in laptops, in phones, in graphics cards. So this is causing the manufacturing of chips to maybe slow down. And then that trickles down, right? Because if the slowdown of manufacturing is slowing down, then those manufacturing companies might slow down in their purchasing of equipment needed to manufacture chips, right? So that's the big fear happening here with ASML. I do want to say this fear is more short-term lived, in my opinion. But in the long term of things, we need chips, we need new technology, we need new laptops, new phones, new smaller nodes. So even though right now it seems like it's definitely a bearish thesis, I want to say in the long term of things, this is something I personally wouldn't worry too much about. So the first news is probably one of the most popular news is there was a Chinese company, they patent for an extreme ultraviolet lithography tool used to make 10 nanometer chips. So the problem here is that ASML is one of the monopoly in this kind of EUV product. So kind of seeing another company create a patent for this has caused some worries for investors. I do want to say there's a few things to discuss here. First, just because you have a patent doesn't necessarily mean you know how to exactly create the product, right? You might have the roadmap of how to make it, but it doesn't mean you can get to your final destinations, right? There's a lot of bumps that you have to go through. So just because a patent is out there, it's not necessarily mean to be worried. Right, there's a whole process here. I personally would be more worried if there was an actual product, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is I do want to say it kind of causes some form of yellow flag in my opinion. Again, not a red flag, but a yellow flag that, hey, as an ASML investor, which I'm not, but if I was an ASML investor, I would kind of keep a closer eye to see how this kind of evolves over time. Right now, ASML can't kind of keep up with demand. So they're kind of at max capacity, but they still have strong demand from their backlog, right? So not something I would worry right now, more of just a yellow flag to kind of keep a closer eye out in the future. I mean, ASML is super popular. Again, if you ever take a closer look at any of the top giants that are dealing with manufacturing, ASML is most likely to be named. For example, on December 22nd of 2022, Intel announced that they are kind of progressing to their next kind of more advanced nodes, and they did mention that this kind of technology obviously is being done thanks to ASML's EUV scanner. So again, it just shows that big players continue to promote to some extent ASML. Here we can see in early December when TSMC announced their updates for their TSMC Arizona expansion plan, they did mention that among some of the tools that are coming to these plants are going to be ASML machines. So again, nothing here to kind of really boost the stock price, but more to just show the overall strength of their products. That, hey, the big players, Intel, who's spending tons of money on manufacturing, the number one manufacturer, TSMC, are happy to say that, hey, our products are being ran by ASML tools. So next, I want to take a closer look at some buybacks the company has done. But first, if you are enjoying the episode, make sure to hit the thumbs up as it does help me grow my overall audience. If you want to support a little bit more, make sure to subscribe using my link at fool.com/Jose. Finally, if you are here, it means you're a semiconductor investor, and I have a weekly podcast. This is episode 8 that we just released. It's my co-host and I, we discuss everything about the semiconductor market every single week. Make sure to check out the videos up above. You can click it, or you can find it on the pinned comment below. So another thing about ASML is this is a company that does massive buybacks, and they kind of share their buybacks on a weekly basis. For example, here we can see they bought 10,000 shares, 12,000 shares, 12,000 shares, 12,000 shares, 12,000 shares. And this is a kind of, it's not just a 1 week thing, right? They have done this numerous on a weekly basis. If you kind of go back and Google ASML's buyback program, you can see every single week. Here we can see from December 12th to December 16th, it was the same. This one was more average of around 7 million euros each day, buying 13,000 shares, 11,000, 14,000 shares at once per day. And again, we can just continue to see this for the whole month of December. So this is a company that's gladly buying back its shares right now, which should be seen as a bullish statement for the overall stock price. Now, some other news, we do have that the company is expected to report their quarter fourth and full year 2022 results on January 25th. It is crazy how we're back on earnings season, so that's pretty interesting. Finally, there was an event or conference that ASML was in on December 6th to December 7th. It was the UBS Global TMT Conference. I do want to say there were a few points discussed here. Two major points that I want to share to investors. One is the overall company says that, hey, the overall US regulations right now are not affecting the overall stock or their revenue by much. So nothing that they are worried about, especially since a lot of these regulations have been in place for ASML for numerous years, right? This isn't the first time that they're hearing about certain of these regulations. So nothing to worry too much if I was an ASML investor. The second thing they mentioned is one of the major headwinds happening right now, or tailwinds happening right now, is everybody is investing in manufacturing. We see Intel investing, we see companies like Samsung and TSMC also trying to build plants all around the world. That's great news for ASML. So in my opinion, ASML right now definitely has a lot of kind of short-term headwinds, but in the long term of things, this is a company that has numerous tailwinds. I personally am not invested in ASML. I wouldn't mind it in my portfolio, but right now I'd rather just purchase an overall semiconductor ETF. But if I had, like I mentioned, ASML wouldn't be something bad if I was to own it, in my opinion. I just personally enjoy the overall ETF approach and only focus on really high growth stocks in the semiconductor market instead. So ASML, in my opinion, if I was a long-term investor, I wouldn't be worried at this point. So take care, have a good day, and see you next time.